Welcome to Your Mac Life for Wednesday, July 20th, 2016, show number 1101. I am your host, Shawn King. Thank you guys very much for joining me, whether you're tuned in live or in the archive. July 20th. Is it just me, or where did our summer go? It feels like we haven't had. Where did July go? I was thinking about this morning. I didn't conceptualize that it was already the end of July, or near the end of July. I haven't done anything this summer. That's kind of depressing. That made me unhappy. On tonight's show, we're going to talk to our good friend Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com about, we're going to talk about, there's several things. Oh, new Macs. He made a comment on The Loop about new Macintoshes and when and where they will be showing up. We also will talk to him about Twitter. Some interesting comments on what Twitter is up to, what they've been doing, what they have been not doing, as the case may be. We'll talk to him about those kinds of things. We're also going to talk about a little bit about. I completely lost my train of thought. Choo-choo, there goes the train. On our starting point photography segment, we're going to talk about buying used camera gear. This weekend, I'm going to the Vancouver Flea Market, downtown Vancouver. They're having their big camera gear sale. So we're going to talk about how to buy used gear, what to look out for, what to be careful of, those kinds of things when it comes to used gear. So that'll be on the starting point photography segment. A couple of housekeeping things. First of all, a big happy birthday to our good friend Thomas Von Hassel. Thomas is in Denmark. He lives in Denmark. So he had a birthday yesterday. Happy birthday to him. And coming up, and also today, a very special birthday greeting to Kim. You all remember Kim. Kim turns 50 today, so she is turning the big 50. So congratulations to Kim for making it through half a century. Hopefully she has a good birthday. I saw this really cool story, and doing research for it, to talk to you guys about it, it's a shame that this never went any further. But apparently in Sweden, in 2010, they tested a speed camera lottery where speed limit abiding drivers were automatically entered into a drawing to win a prize pool funded out of fines paid by the speeders. This is freaking brilliant. This is just the smartest thing ever. I wish the people in government were still doing this, because this is something that you could actually see working. The stories I read said that the speeding in the zones that they had to set up in went from an average of 50 kilometers an hour to an average of 30 kilometers an hour. So it worked. It actually got people to slow down. I think it's a fantastic idea. Wouldn't you like to see this in your town, in your state, in your province? Where they set up, the same speed traps that they have now, just that the money raised, instead of going into the general coffers of the city, go into a lottery pool. And, I guess the way it worked was that they took a picture of your license plate as you went through, just like they do when you're speeding. And if you weren't speeding, your license plate got put into a draw for a portion of the money that they collected from the speeders. This is just brilliant. MacMan says, cities giving up money willingly? Well, actually, a lot of cities have gotten rid of their speed cameras. Here in British Columbia, the police had photo radar for many, many years. Yeah, I know, because I got caught twice. But they dumped them. Many cities in the U.S. have dumped their red light cameras. So it's in those locations. Anyway, it wasn't just about the money. But I think this is a brilliant idea that I'd love to see other municipalities, other cities take on this. I think that your populace would get behind this. Dave D says, of course, as folks become more competitive for the lottery, the prize goes down. Not ideal. That's the point, though. That's absolutely the point, to get people to slow down. And even if the prize money goes down, there's still always going to be speeders. There's still always going to be people dumb enough to speed even though they know they can get caught. So even though if it's no longer $1,000 you win, it's $200 you win, you still win money. It's a better idea than, I know the cops here in BC do it every now and then. I've heard it in other places too, where the police will pull you over and congratulate you for doing a good thing. No, don't do that. I've seen stories in the news where people have been pulled over by the police because they came to a complete stop at a stop sign. And people, when the cops pull you over, you think you've done something wrong, and you're sitting here going, what did I do wrong? I don't understand. What did I do wrong? And the cop comes over and he gives you a little card that says, congratulations for obeying the law, whatever it is. I think it's a dumb idea. I think it would just be confusing to people. I pointed out earlier in the pre-show over my left shoulder a little Pikachu. This is one of the yes, I have a Pikachu. I have a Pokemon Go character in my house. Get him! Get him! I said finally the Pokemon Go servers were able to allow more people to sign on, and the game became available here in Canada directly. And so I downloaded the game. I signed in to the game. I read how the game played. And it was kind of cool because, obviously, to get you to start playing the game, they put a Pokemon character directly in front of you. And so right there, literally sitting on my couch, which was kind of weird, I was using the augmented reality thing of it. Right there on my couch was a little game character. And so I followed the instructions and captured him. And that was the last I've done. I like the idea of Pokemon Go. I think the idea is kind of a neat, interesting idea, and I can see how it has a certain attraction to people. But part of the problem is that because of where I live, A, Canada, and B, miles away from the downtown Vancouver location, there's not many Pikachus around. There's not many Pokemon characters around here. So it would be a waste of time to go out walking looking for them. But as I'm not a natural go out walking kind of guy, I haven't shown any more interest than starting the game up. Now, this weekend, when I go into the city for the flea market, and then on Saturday, and then Sunday afternoon, I'm going to be downtown shooting the salsa dancing, which I love shooting. It's so much fun to go down there and shoot the salsa dancers. I'll turn on the game and walk around downtown Vancouver and see what's what. I'm not going to be a serious player of it. I don't care enough to capture Pokemons to level up and do whatever I need to do. So I'm not going to get serious about it. But it's going to be curious to see how the game works in a real life environment. Sly says, some idiot here jumped onto our subway SkyTrain tracks to catch one. I don't understand how people can be this stupid. We talked about this on last week's show, the fact that people were in Arlington National Cemetery. This is a military cemetery hunting Pokemons. People in the Holocaust Museum hunting Pokemons. And people say, well, they shouldn't put them there. Well, yeah, but let's demand some common sense and responsibility from these people, these players. That's just stupid. Mind-numbingly stupid. People have crashed into police cars hunting down Pokemon. I don't understand how you can be so self-absorbed, self-centered, with a lack of awareness of the world around you that makes you say, yes, I'm going to go to the Holocaust Museum, pull up my phone, and hunt down Pokemons. Or go on the SkyTrain tracks and hunt down Pokemons. MacMan, 2 morons literally walked off a cliff. Yeah, exactly. They literally walked off a cliff. Maybe this is a way of getting rid of the stupid. I don't know. But it's just appalling how people can just be so incredibly, mind-numbingly oblivious to the world around them that they think this is a good thing. This is an okay thing to do. Just don't get it. Monty says, I saw someone post a tweet about collecting items in the game that attract the characters, then going to a local children's hospital and dropping those items to attract the characters to places where the kids can't get out and walk. That, I think, is a great idea. I think the Niantic company, they've said that they're going to be having sponsored locations where people will pay to have these things called Pokestops or Poke Gyms at their location to attract people. You should be able to, as a hospital, send an email to the Niantic people and say, hey, put one of those things here for my kids to play. I think it's a great idea for kids who can't get out. Remember when I was in Indianapolis for a charity motorcycle ride, and the charity was for the local children's hospital. And there was like 17,000 motorcyclists there. And at the beginning of the ride, we did a parade past the kids. And there was hundreds of kids from this hospital. Some of the kids were in hospital beds watching all these motorcycles go by. That was just great. I had tears in my eyes going past these poor sick kids who would come out of the hospital to watch these motorcycles roar by. So that kind of stuff I think is fantastic. But hunting these things in cemeteries and Holocaust museums is just appalling. As always, we encourage you guys to send us emails to onair@yourmaclifeshow.com. Love hearing from you guys, so please send us emails anytime, either during the live show or during the week. If you have any questions or comments or things you want to point out, please send them to me at onair@yourmaclifeshow.com. As always, we also love to have you guys join us who are listening live in one of our 2 chat rooms. We have one traditional IRC chat room, thanks to our good friend Monty. If you go to the website at yourmaclifeshow.com, right there below the video, you'll see a way to enter the IRC chat room. We're not going to know anything about IRC. Monty set this up, so all you do is put in your name, and you get dropped in the IRC channel along with Sly and Monty and Sherry and all the other folks in the IRC. Or, if you'd like, you can join our Telegram chat room, also a text-based chat room, a little more full-featured than IRC, a little more fiddly to get into, but you can download the app and join us in the Telegram chat room anytime. It's open 24 hours a day, so you can come join us anytime that you would like. As I said later on in the show, we're going to be talking about buying used camera gear. I'm going to the Vancouver Flea Market Camera Show, dedicated show for cameras and lenses and lights and all that kind of stuff. This coming, when am I going? Am I going Sunday. And so we'll talk about that. But up next, we're going to talk to our good friend Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com. But all the news of the past week. This is Your Mac Life. Welcome back, folks. This is Your Mac Life. I am Shawn King. Joined on our phone now by our good friend Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com. Jim, how you doing?
I got a beer.
Yay! That's so important.
I didn't have a beer last week.
I know, and people could tell. I got emails from folks saying, Jim seemed a little off last week. Why was that? I said, because he didn't have beer.
Yeah, well, I even started early. I didn't wait for you to call.
Exactly.
So
have you played Pokemon yet?
No.
Still haven't played it.
You know what I have been doing?
What?
I've been watching CNN and the Republican National
dude, why?
Convention.
Why?
They are threatening to kill Hillary Clinton.
I know. At least throw her in jail. I know.
No. One guy said that she should be put in front of a firing squad and shot.
Oh, God. I just don't get the vehemence on either side. I don't get they're just politicians. Someone said to me that, well, Hillary Clinton's a liar. She's a politician. They're all liars. It's the nature of the beast.
In Canada, they lie too. We just laugh.
Exactly.
We just don't take it seriously.
That's
we
right.
know that they're going to lie.
That's right. Exactly. We're like, okay, as long as you tell us the right lies, that's all we care about.
And then, if they lie really good, then we just say, you got us with that one. We should have known you weren't going to keep that promise. You got us. Okay, good one. That's it.
The classic one, Jim, I don't know if you remember it, but when we were kids, the only politician of any note that's ever come out of Nova Scotia is a guy named Robert Stansfield. If you've ever flown into Halifax International Airport, you've flown into Stansfield International Airport. And he ran against – and Robert Stansfield was a very nice man. I remember meeting him when I was a kid.
Didn't he make underwear too?
Yes, he was the Stanfield underwear family. But he was a very nice man. I remember meeting him when I was a kid, and he was from Nova Scotia, so we were all very proud of him. Stanfield,
I didn't know Stanfield went to prisons.
Just as a goodwill tour,
Yeah, just wait. I'll get another beer. I'm on a roll.
Exactly, no kidding. But Stansfield's problem was twofold. One, he was fairly boring, and two, he was running against Pierre Elliott Trudeau, the most dynamic politician Canada's ever had. So Stansfield didn't have a chance. I remember, even as a kid, I remember this story. Stanfield said, and remember this was in the 70s. Stanfield said that he was going to he was going to put a gas tax on of 15 cents a gallon on Canadian gas. And when someone asked Pierre Elliott Trudeau, would he do that? And Trudeau said, no, I will not raise gas prices 15 cents a gallon. So he voted Trudeau in. Immediately afterwards, he raised gas prices 25 cents a gallon.
Yeah. Yeah, he didn't lie.
He didn't lie. That's right. He didn't lie.
Yeah, okay, you got us. That's a good one.
And Stansfield was like, oh, you dick.
Yeah.
I was so bad that Stansfield didn't win an election because he might have been a good politician, but he was running against Trudeau, and he had no chance with his personality.
Yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned on The Loop this past week, Macs, September doesn't seem right to me. There's been a lot of talk about the fact that Apple hasn't updated any of their Macintoshes in quite some time, and a lot of us have assumed that the September time frame seems to be a good time frame. But you posted in The Loop that you don't think so. Why not?
It just doesn't seem right to me.
Why not? When else
because
do it?
I don't know, but September doesn't seem right.
When does seem right? You got to believe they're going to do it sometime this year. Well,
they have to do it, and they always do updates of their product lines, through the summer and into October, November, so that they'll be ready for the big shopping day. But September to me is iPhone time.
Yeah.
And iOS time.
Yep.
Not Mac time. And I feel that if they did release a Mac in September, one of two things would happen that I put in there. Either it's going to take away from the iPhone release, which they don't want and they can't afford because iPhone is their biggest product, or it'll get ignored altogether. And they don't want that either, because even though it's not their biggest product anymore, they don't want it ignored completely. So I don't see any other option but those two. It's either going to take away or it's going to get ignored. So September just doesn't seem right. I mean, they could do other iOS things, like they'll talk about iOS 10. They could talk about iPad. They could talk about iPods if they want. They could talk about Apple TV if they want. Those are all iOS related devices, and none of those would really take away from the iPhone. Yeah. The Mac just doesn't fit for me. Especially if it's going to be a big Mac release, because then they're going to want it. They're going to want to focus on the Mac.
Arkstein says, I wonder if Apple just puts iMac updates out with any presentation. I think that's exactly what they're going to do. I think they're just going to announce these things either the day after the iPhone announcements or during, where they're just going to say, and they've done this before, hey, by the way, here's the new iPhone, and here's the new iMac.
Yeah, and it's not like they haven't done an event before with an iOS device and a Mac.
Yep.
I just don't think that they'll do it now. It just doesn't seem right. I mean, before when they did it, iOS wasn't as important as it is now.
Yep.
Now it's the foundation.
Sure.
And I just don't think that they're going to want to take anything away from that. And Arkstein is exactly right. It could very well be that if the update is not significant, that they just go ahead and put out a press release and say, oh, yeah, this has been updated. If it is significant, like MacBooks or MacBook Pros or even iMacs, whatever, if it is significant, then maybe they will do an event. I can't see this happening in September. And I know Gruber doesn't agree with me.
Yep. And
I know some others don't. But it just, that's just my feeling on it. It just not the right time.
I need you to clarify a story that you posted just recently over on.
No.
I need you to clarify a story you posted just recently over on The Loop. I'm sorry, I had a little feedback there where I thought I heard you say no.
No. Amazing how that feedback is.
Isn't it weird? You said Apple did not buy cloud-based music provider Omniphone. Now, we've been friends for 20-odd years now. For the past 10 years, you've actually made a career out of looking at stories like this and just simply posting no or yes to rumors. Why this rumor in particular did you decide to talk about your sources and speculation, things like this, instead of just posting no?
That's a good question, and I don't know.
I think that's interesting. Yeah,
I didn't realize until afterwards that I did that.
Yeah.
So there you go.
You become famous for your nopes.
Yeah.
And yet you blew it on this one.
I know.
I think you're slipping.
I completely blew it. I completely blew it. I don't know why.
It's an interesting story, if only because I think what it does is it shows so many of the media is willing to jump on any kind of rumor, any kind of report that they seem to think is even slightly plausible.
Let's be fair here to Mac Rumors. They said that they've seen documents.
Yes.
To prove their case, and I don't know what documents they saw.
Yep.
But when I started looking into this, I started looking into it thinking that I was going to confirm their story.
Yeah, sure.
But I didn't, obviously. So I'm not quite sure what happened.
Yeah. Because someone's wrong, obviously.
Somebody's wrong. I mean, it could very well be that I'm wrong. Yeah. I don't know. But everybody that I talked to said no.
Interesting.
I mean, clearly this company is in hard financial times.
Yeah, I was going to ask, does it matter if Apple's bought this company? Is it going to make any difference to people, or is this just a technology buy that will get folded into
Well,
something in the future?
this is where the story get kind of strange
Yeah.
for me, because they didn't buy their IP. Whoever bought them didn't buy their IP. Which, why wouldn't you buy their IP? I mean, they bought the tech business and the assets. Well, so what? So you bought a building and some chairs, but you didn't buy the IP because you want to lease it later.
Yeah.
Those are the types of things that I was looking around at today, and it didn't make a lot of sense to me. I mean, you would think if Apple was going to go out and buy a company, that they would buy everything.
Yes.
Like, you are now ours. We own you, lock, stock, and barrel. And then they will use whatever IP they have, and all the other stuff that the company has, including the employees. But these guys basically laid off their employees in May because they couldn't pay their debts anymore. So I don't know. That's why originally, instead of just ignoring it, it kind of intrigued me, because Mac Rumors had seen documents, and then they went on to talk about the sale itself, in that there was no IP included, and it was the tech business and assets. It just seemed really weird.
It absolutely does, and it seems even weirder that you'd associate Apple with this, because that's not the way Apple buys companies. It seems to be the complete opposite way that we know the way Apple buys companies. So for me, when I read the story, I thought that would be very strange for Apple to not buy the IP, that they would buy the people,
Right.
But the people have been laid off, so all they got to do is go hire those people if they wanted them. Yeah, so that's why for me the story just didn't make a lot of sense from the beginning. But also because it's one of those stories that it doesn't really matter from a user perspective.
No, it doesn't matter from a user perspective, but I think it would say a lot, since this is a cloud-based music company, and Apple does have problems with the cloud.
Yep.
It would be an interesting story, and I said that with my love of music and Apple Music in particular, my interest in that. This, obviously my antenna went up when I saw this.
Yeah.
And when you start to look at the things that Apple could do with cloud and music and everything else, okay, I don't doubt that Apple would buy them. And the fact that, I have a lot of respect for Arnold and Eric and Julie over at Mac Rumors. I think if they post something like, we have seen the document, they have seen some documents.
Yeah.
I don't know what those documents were, but in all the digging that I did, they said no.
And I love the fact that you say all the digging you did. You just called Tim Cook. Don't give us that bullshit. You didn't dig. You just called Timmy up and said, "Tim, buddy, blah.
Tim, it's me.
It's me."
What up, brother?
I love the story that was posted earlier in the week on The Loop, when Yahoo ruled the Valley.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was really interesting because I think so many, I don't know the age group of Loop readers. Most of our listeners are middle-aged, 30, late 30s, early 40s, that kind of thing. But a lot of folks I don't think remember the original Yahoo. The original Yahoo, folks, was hand-curated.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I love. I remember using Yahoo back in the day and having Yahoo as my front page and loving seeing these weird links pop up to these websites and realizing there was another human being somewhere in California who had found this weird website and posted it on the yahoo.com website. I wasted hours and hours going down the rabbit hole of the internet because of Yahoo. Did you use it a lot too?
Oh, yeah. Well, that was the only resource.
Yeah.
There was nothing else.
For the longest time.
That's what we had.
Yep.
And, if you wanted to find something, you went to Yahoo.
Yeah, that's right.
That was it. And there was a group. How many? I forget. I think they said there was like 10 people that cataloged the internet.
Almost all of it.
Imagine
Yeah,
that.
that's right.
Yeah, they cataloged the
Yeah,
internet. But then it was very easy to catalog the internet. Well,
sure.
no, it wasn't easy, but it was easier than now because not even every company had a website
Yeah.
back then.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was very interesting.
I remember, back in the day when you'd see a URL on a commercial, you immediately go to your computer to type in the URL because it was so unusual to see
Yes.
a URL on a TV commercial or on a magazine. So many of the ads in say like Macworld magazine didn't have these URLs. When you found one, you went, "Oh, cool!" and you typed the URL in, and it was always a long string, always the HTTPS. And so it was really interesting. So Yahoo saved us so much time by pointing out the cool, interesting, weird aspects of the internet that some other human being had said, "Hey, I think this is interesting." Remember back in the day, there was the website of the day awards and all kinds of awards that allowed you to find these interesting aspects of the internet. And we kind of miss that nowadays when most people can just go to google.com and do whatever search they want, or Bing, whatever your chosen search engine is. Yahoo has definitely fallen by the wayside. Is there still room for curated website links nowadays? Do you think that's no longer necessary, or are we moving back to curation?
I don't think curated on the web. I think that
the Loop was curated.
Well, I thought you meant Yahoo.
No, I'm talking about in general on the web. Do you think people will start gravitating back to curation as opposed to the fire hose that is Google?
I think people will continue to use Google. I mean, I use Google every day. You know, you need things that you're going to search for, and Google is the best place to get them. So, I'll be researching a story and think, now when did that happen? Mm-hmm. And go to Google, and there you go. There's you get the date and a link, and you move on. But I think that will continue to happen. But personally, I have gone back quite a bit to reading more personal websites, like the Loop, that do have, I feel, interesting and oftentimes unique links to things that other people don't have. And, you bring a lot of those to the site. And, the links that you have are things that I would never post. And people love them. Yeah. They love that type of stuff because they haven't seen it that day, as opposed to a lot of the other things that are on every single site.
Yeah.
They haven't seen a lot of the unique things. And, I try and post some stuff on design and CSS, and certainly on music and guitars and stuff like that. Because those aren't things that our readers are going to find and see. And, one of the best read stories that we had one day last week was what people think rock guitars actually do all day.
That's right.
And it was just this guy like acting like a rock star, and where's my car? Don't you know who I am?
That's right.
That's what people think that rock stars do. Yeah. And it was just, being a guitarist, it was kind of funny because I know so many guitarists that, they're struggling for their lives, but people think, oh, you're a rock guitarist. Yep. Oh, you go on stage all the time. Yeah. No, that's not it.
Arxine makes a really good point in the IRC chat room. He says, Twitter feeds seem like the way you get websites that are hand-picked by the people you follow. I know if someone on my Twitter feed says go to this website, I go.
Yeah,
if I get a link in an email, hey, you should read this, I probably don't, unless I know it's something I'm already interested in. But if somebody, even if it's not a quote-unquote friend of mine, if I follow you on Twitter, it means I think you're interesting. And so I think the links that you're going to post are going to be interesting, too. And they're not always interesting, but I give you the benefit of the doubt that I don't give to a random newsletter that I'm signed up for.
Well, and it's the same with apps. I mean, we talked about that before.
Yeah.
If I get an email to go try out an app, yeah, probably not.
Yeah.
But if I see somebody I follow recommend an app, then I'll take a look at
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think it's the same with websites. It's the same with everything that we do. I mean, if if we're ready to try out a service, how many times do you see on Twitter people say, "Hey, has anybody used this?
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you think?" And you get 100 responses of people saying, it sucks,"
Yeah.
and other people saying, "No, it's great," and, whatever. But you get to make up your mind from there.
I think it's a good thing. I like both aspects of it. I'm a heavy user of RSS feeds. I love my RSS feeds, but I also love going to Twitter and seeing what people are talking about and linking to on Twitter. I think both have their place. Depending on the subject matter, I'm more likely to lean one way or the other. But in general, I think the combination of both are a good thing.
No, me too. I enjoy the curation and personal additions that people put into their posts these days, as opposed to rewriting a press release or the way that websites used to be done.
Yeah.
I like it now much better, and those are the sites that I gravitate towards.
Speaking of Twitter was really in the news this past week for any number of reasons. One of them seemed to be kind of odd. I want to get your take on it. You posted on The Loop. Twitter signed deal with NBA. This is on the heels of them signing a deal with the NFL and also probably going to be with Major League Baseball and NHL and all that kind of stuff. I don't want to watch anything on Twitter. I don't want to watch baseball, basketball, football, hockey on Twitter.
See, here's the thing. They said that it was non-game based stuff.
Yes.
So that, and that's what I posted. I don't understand what non-game based content they're going to have.
They're going to be like Periscope videos.
But that doesn't seem interesting to me.
No, exactly. That's right.
That's just me. And one guy wrote on Twitter, emailed back and said that he would find it interesting.
Really interesting.
Okay, I don't know what content that will be.
Yep.
I really don't. And as maybe in my closed mind, as I sat there looking and reading this story, I think it was on Reuters, thinking, okay, if it's non-game based, what are they going to put there that would be of interest to me? And to be honest, I actually thought more about hockey than I did about NBA. Sure. But, thinking about a sport, what could they put there that would be of interest to me? And I couldn't come up with anything, even hockey, and I don't know. But you could have the NFL, you could have the NBA, you could have, Premier League soccer in England, which I love.
Yep, me too.
But non-game-based stuff, I don't get it.
ArcSign says in the IRC chat room, sports talk radio via Twitter storm. Nope, not interested.
No, exactly. Not interested.
Nothing whatsoever.
And Periscope video, not interested.
Nope, don't care.
I'm not.
Yep.
There's lots of things that you can get on ESPN or, the actual Twitter feeds of teams. And the majority of the time, like I follow the Boston Bruins, and the majority of the time I'll find everything that I need on their Twitter feed. Yeah. Sometimes, I miss a lot, and I'll just go to the Bruins website and I look at the news and see what I missed, and, that's it. Yep. I'll text with my son, and we'll talk about, the hockey news that's going on, and then I'm good. I don't need a fire hose from Twitter of this stuff. Is it going to be a special page? Is it going to be on Twitter itself? I don't know.
The other thing for me is it's a matter of I don't want to engage in these kinds of social activities, which I got to assume Twitter is assuming this is going to be, with complete strangers. Yeah. I love talking about sports with you and with Sly and with friends who know about those teams or those sports, but I don't want to talk to a complete stranger about the Montreal Canadiens because I don't care about you, so I don't care about your opinion.
Right.
So Twitter is going to be
Yeah.
just a whole bunch of opinions I don't care about. So yeah, I don't see the point. The other big story of Twitter this past week, yesterday, was a very, very well-known, for lack of a better term, conservative activist was permanently banned from Twitter. Milo Yiannopoulos, a Breitbart editor and contributor, created a awful tweet storm against the one of the actors in the new Ghostbusters movie. And she got some of the most vile, disgusting, hate-filled tweets. But this is not the first time this has happened. This is not the second time this has happened. This has been going on for at least a decade on Twitter. Twitter reacted this time. Why do you think they reacted to this guy this time?
Well, I think there were two reasons. One, he's done this many times before.
He's been banned from Twitter for periods of time before. Yes.
Yeah. So there's certainly history there. And secondly, it was, a famous actress. But I think the fact that he has a history of doing this, and he talked about free speech and all of that. This has nothing to do with free speech.
Nope.
And I feel bad for her that she had to put up with such hate. And it's funny. For the past week, I've thought several times about posting and just say, "Dear world, why you got to be like this?"
Yep.
I mean, it's, and I didn't because I knew that some people would take it the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
But I just, why do you got to be so hate filled and attack her like this?
Now there's a interesting way of looking at it. This is going to come out the wrong way. I have no problem with him hating her. I have no problem with him disliking her and tweeting "I don't like you" and whatever else. That's you're an asshole, but go ahead and say that kind of stuff. The problem I have is when he sicked his 44,000 followers on her too. That's where he stepped over a line. When he said to his followers, "Go get her," then there you have a problem. Now, I will also say she shouldn't have engaged. I know there's going to be people going to say that's like blaming the victim, but I'm not blaming the victim. If an asshole is in your face, walk away from the asshole. She could stay on Twitter, just ignore the things that were being said. I know that's hard.
Yeah, it is hard. And the thing is, I think, until you've been attacked, which she probably hadn't been before.
No, she had been. She absolutely had been.
Okay.
But not at this level with this level of vitriol.
I mean, don't you kind of think if somebody says something hateful to you, I know I strike back.
Yep, me too.
And I know that I shouldn't.
Me too.
But I do because when I feel like I'm being attacked, then I strike back.
Yep.
And this guy from Twitter that was talking about the Beard Bash and the name of it was one example.
Yep.
Where I felt like he was attacking me, and I struck back, and then his followers started coming after me, and I went after them, and it was just one thing after another.
Yep.
It didn't do any good, but what started off as a conversation like, "What is your problem?"
Yep.
turned into this big thing, and in some of the tweets that I saw from her that were posted on news sites, that's what it seemed like she was doing. Like, what are you talking about? Why are you doing this? And then it just turned into this huge thing. And I think it's unfortunate.
Sherry says on the IRC chat room, nope to what Shawn was saying about ignoring it. Change will never happen until people stand up to these assholes. Yes, I agree with you on that, Sherry, 100%, and I stand up to assholes all the time. But she wasn't psychologically ready to stand up to these guys. She took it all very, very personally, and
so do I.
hang on, and let them know that they were getting to her. Everyone knows that's what the assholes want. They want to know that you're getting them. Whenever I get called out by these assholes, I just throw it back at them in the same way, and they eventually go away. But if you let the assholes think they've gotten to you, that just encourages the assholes.
Well, I don't disagree with you, but there's a difference between me saying, "Hey, Shawn, I think your photography sucks ass, and you're not a very good photographer," and I've looked at your stuff, and we're talking about that. But when they attack you personally, racially, and gender, that's different. That's very personal, and you can't not take that personally.
And I've been attacked racially and gender wise too.
Well, you're a better man than the rest of us.
No. I think it's the way you handle it. If you handle it in a way that lets them know that you're taking it personally, that just encourages them. I have no problem with you calling them names right back, but don't let them know that they're getting under your skin.
When people attack me, I do take it personally, and that's an issue for me. I know, always has been, always will be. I wear my heart in my sleeve, all that.
Sherry says Twitter is hell for women, especially women of color. You can only handle so many hundreds of tweets wishing you were raped or looked like an ape. She gets this on a near constant basis, and her standing up to it finally got Twitter to pay attention to the problem. And I agree with all of that.
But for what reason do people start?
Yeah.
I mean, those are awful comments. Awful comments. Why would people that you don't know start talking to you like that? I mean, damn well that if these guys saw you on the street, they wouldn't say that.
Oh, hell no. They don't have the balls to do it. It's internet courage.
Right. And gang courage.
Yep. Now,
but I don't understand what would make somebody say things like that to you.
Now, the other aspect of this is, why did it take Twitter so long? This has been going on all weekend. I follow this woman, Leslie Dog, on Twitter. She's a very, very funny comedian. And I haven't seen Ghostbusters yet, but I've heard that she's good in Ghostbusters. This has been going on all weekend. And it was
Jack was away.
I don't care, Jack. Yeah, Jesus. But this was obvious from the get-go what was going on. And this has happened to Brianna Wu and a number of other people where it takes Twitter far too long. If they do react, it takes them far too long to react and ban these assholes. Part of the problem is that even if you're banned, it's not that hard to get another Twitter account and continue on. You're continuing on as one person as opposed to 44,000 people. But I think Twitter's got a serious problem with this, and they need to do something about this stuff much, much faster, whether it be spammers or whether it be assholes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can say that about any social network thing. Yep. I mean, I don't know if you follow Mike Montero.
Yes.
And look at what Mike's doing with guns and Facebook.
Yep.
And Facebook really isn't responding.
Yep, that's right.
They're really not doing anything. So you could say that exact statement and put it towards any social network that's out there now, and they have problems. But the people that use it have problems.
Yep.
I mean, there are some things that in the world that I don't like, that I don't go out and attack the people on Twitter. I don't know what would make somebody say, "Oh, I want to see you dead and you're an ape," and all. I don't understand what would make somebody say that.
Yep. Arcsign
because
says, go ahead.
Again, you're not going to see somebody in person and they're going to say that to you.
Arcsign says, Shawn, maybe we need to listen to women who say that they're suffering. We can't just say, be stronger and react this way. That's not the answer.
Right. Exactly. It's not.
Monty says, I don't think I've ever said anything on Twitter I would not have said to the person group in real life. At least I hope I haven't. I know for a fact I haven't. Anything I've ever said on Twitter, I'd be happily say it to that same person's face.
I've said I've said worse things in person than what I've said on Twitter.
That's right, exactly.
You
said them to me.
I have said them to you. I mean, in person. And I say them to you in text
Yeah,
too. I
that's
say
right.
them to you all.
On
But
the phone.
sometimes I'm pissed off at somebody else, and I'll just curse at you. Just I just I people know that I'm very outspoken
Yep.
about what I feel strongly about, and I don't apologize for that. But what I say, I think I can back up, whether I say it to you in person or on Twitter or anywhere else.
Yep.
But I honestly don't get this stuff that's going on, and he got banned. Good for him.
Yep. But I do believe that Twitter has got to do more and do it faster. These tweet storms of hate are really easy to spot and really easy to ban these people. And they've got to do that much, much faster. Leslie should not have had to gone through 4 days of this bullshit. As soon as she started seeing this tweet storm, she can easily point it out to somebody at Twitter, and those people get banned.
Well, it's funny, because she said in one story, I read about it today. She said, I wondered why celebrities don't have Twitter accounts. Now I know.
Yep.
Yep,
I agree. Folks, been talking to Jim Downpour of The Loop at loopinsight.com. He's here each and every week. Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, Shawn.
Talk next week. See ya.
Bye.
And here's a perfect example of it right here. I said my piece. Sherry said her piece. She's not wrong. I'm probably wrong. I'll definitely lean towards Sherry's opinion on this more so than mine. But I didn't call her any names. I didn't hope she was dead. I disagreed with somebody. This is how you do it. This is how you disagree with people. You say, I disagree with you. And you move on. There have been several stories in the past, I guess since the Brexit thing in the UK. Somebody posted this on Twitter. Good advice about what to do if you see racist abuse. Speaking over for the victim can make the situation more intimidating. Now this is advice for people who are in a physical situation, physical confrontation, not confrontation, but physical confrontation. But someone's yelling or making racist comments to somebody. What their suggestion is don't confront the person making the statements. Talk to the person who is being attacked and tell them that you stand with them. Ignore the asshole. And this might work on Twitter, too, at least until people at Twitter pull their heads out their asses and stop this kind of stuff. But show your support for the person being attacked. Don't attack the asshole. That's what the asshole wants. Show your support for the person being attacked. I sent out several tweets to Leslie over the weekend saying, hang in there, sister. Good for you. People are out here hoping for you and loving you and liking you and supporting you. I didn't send an email or send a tweet off to any of the assholes. So I know it's not going to do any good. Once it gets to that point, those folks can't be reasoned with. I'll post this tweet in the IRC chat rooms so you folks can read this kind of stuff. But what to do? Wayne says, flag the offender. The post if Twitter has that option. And presume Twitter investigates if enough people do such a thing. That's the problem. They don't. Thousands of people flagged the offenders in any number of situations. Brianna Wu, a perfect example. She was involved in is involved in the whole Gamergate thing. Lots and lots of folks reported the abuse and the spam and asked for these people to be blocked. Twitter did nothing about it and is still doing nothing about it. MacMan, Twitter doesn't give a shit. Exactly. That's the thing. So we've got to make Twitter give a shit. Paul O'Connor wrote, never engage the perpetrator. He can and is usually a he, looking for confrontation. Instead, speak to the person he is abusing. Say hello. Introduce yourself. Shake his or her hand. And just stand with them. Keep talking about anything. Weather, bus schedules, football. This kind of bullying never works against a group of people having a conversation. Usually a single person traveling or a mom with a kid or maximum 2 women are targeted. Form a group of people with and around them if you can. Don't tell them they are not alone. Just don't let them be alone. I speak from experience. Once I encountered a young girl wearing a hijab being abused as a terrorist by a drunk man on a train. I just went and sat beside her and started a conversation with her. After a while, the dude lost interest. I had a lovely chat with a young student from Qatar. She wanted to study literature while her dad was only prepared for engineering or commerce, as he wanted her to join the family business. It helped her feel safe, and it expanded my horizons. Same sort of thing with Twitter. When someone's being attacked, ignore the attacker, send your support to the person being attacked. In our starting point photography segment, the camera gear is expensive. All right? Good camera gear is expensive. Even a moderate lens for your DSLR is going to run you $500 to $1,000. A brand new Canon Rebel with a kit lens is going to cost $700. So what a lot of folks do is they look for used gear. Now, the problem with used gear, used camera gear, is it's tough to tell whether or not it's actually working properly. One thing I tell folks is look on the manufacturer's website for refurbed gear. Apple does it, Nikon does it, Canon does it. Your local camera store might have refurbished gear at a decent price. Another place to look for used gear is pawn shops, secondhand stores. I only recommend going into a pawn shop or secondhand store if you already know what you're looking for. And I go to every pawn shop I pass by just out of curiosity. I'll go to the same one once a month. There's two here in Chilliwack that once a month as I'm driving around, I'll just pop in and see what kind of new camera gear they have. But I've got something in mind. I know I'm not going for just random stuff. I'm looking for a particular lens that I know if I find it at a certain price, I already know what price I'm going to pay, I will buy that lens. Check the gear for wear and tear. It's tough because a lot of the gear for cameras is internal. It's hard to know whether or not the thing has been dropped and is busted inside. Always bring your own card with you, your own memory card. Put your memory card into the camera and take a few pictures and look at the screen on the back of the memory card. If you can, don't buy the camera right away. Take your memory card out, come back home, look at those pictures on your computer, blown up, so you can see whether there are dust spots on the sensor or whether there is a scratch on the lens or anything along those lines. The other thing you can do is when you take a picture and bring the picture home with you is you can run that picture through a website that will tell you how many shutter clicks that camera has had. So you can kind of tell how old the camera is. One of the things I warn folks about is you'll often see good deals at Costco and Sam's Club on brand new SLRs, brand new Canon Rebel. Make a note, or if you're at the store, look it up on your iPhone. Make a note of how old that is, because I've seen many, many times where Costco is selling for $400, a great deal, a 2-year-old camera. And that's not a bad thing. A 2-year-old camera is still going to be able to take good pictures, but you want to know how old your camera is. One of the problems with cameras is the names are confusing, and the names don't necessarily reflect the date they were sold. So you don't want to buy a 2-year-old camera thinking it's a brand new camera. The other thing is a 2-year-old camera has 2-year-old technology. So its sensor isn't as good. Its autofocus isn't as good. Its speed isn't as good. So keep that stuff in mind. It may be a perfectly good camera at $400, but don't fool yourself into thinking you're getting the latest version, the latest model of that camera. If you go to a website, eBay or Craigslist, always, no matter what you're buying from those websites, whenever you're dealing with somebody else, make sure that you do the deal in a public place. Don't go to someone's house to buy camera gear. Meet at a local Starbucks. There's actually now a lot of places, a lot of police stations are saying, come to us to make the deal. Do it in our lobby. And I think it's here in Vancouver. I know I've seen a picture somewhere. I think it's Vancouver, where they have a sign that says this is a sales zone or something like that, where there's cameras there, and you can meet the person there and check out the gear and give them the money. And if the person says they won't meet there, you don't want to do the deal anyway. If they're afraid to stand outside of a police station, you don't want to work with that person. MacMan says, I only buy used gear through reliable sites like B&H, Adorama, KEH. If you can afford that, definitely. Absolutely. The problem is, for me, so my dream lens is two. The Nikon 2470 f1.8, I think it's a 1.8, and the Nikon 7200 2.8. Two beautiful lenses. Both of them are $2,000. Even refurbed at B&H and Adorama, they're $1,500. I know that lens can be had for $500 used. That's significantly cheaper. So that's why I will search around for the secondhand shops and the pawn stores, because you might get lucky. If it's a lens, pick the lens up and look through the lens. Shake the lens. See if you can hear anything rattling around in the lens. Bring a small flashlight and shine your flashlight through the lens to see if you can see any damage or any dust buildup or anything along those lines. Look for the lens to be in good condition. If it's a metal lens, look for paint flecks and scratches and anything that shows you the lens has been dropped or not treated properly. When you go to a place like a pawn shop or a flea market, you're not going to get a warranty from these people. You're not going to be able to bring it back the next day if it's broken. It's buyer beware. So you have to arm yourself with as much details and much data as you can before you make that sale. Look for the deals, but don't get suckered into something that's too low. I know what price I want to see that lens at. If it's higher than that, I'll try to haggle. If they say no, I walk away. I've seen two of those. I've seen those lenses in two places here in Vancouver, but they've always been like $1,400. And I know it's a 2-year-old lens. I know it's not worth $1,400. I ain't going to pay that. So I walked up to the guy, checked the lens out, and said, hey, would you take $500? No. Okay. I don't get the lens. Don't get suckered into the art of the deal and end up buying something that's A, outside your price range, or B, that you haven't checked out well enough. MacMan says, I don't know if the police at home have anything like that. They may not have anything specifically like that, MacMan, but you can certainly call up your local precinct and say, is it okay? And I got to believe 99% of the time the police say, sure, it's not a problem. And even if the police say, no, we don't have any place inside for you, just standing outside the police station should be good enough for a lot of folks. Because outside every police station there's going to be a camera. And there's very few people who have the balls to rob you outside of a police station. Even just parking outside the station is enough. And if that's not near you, find your local coffee shop, find your local McDonald's, Tim Hortons, whatever it might be. Just do your deals in public. But again, don't expect a warranty for these things. When we go to the Vancouver Flea Market this Sunday, I'll tell my meetup folks, there are no warranties. There are no guarantees. You're not getting your money back. If you haven't checked this stuff out, if you haven't looked at the lens and made sure that it's in good working order, you can be upset, but don't expect anything back. Bring your camera. If you're going to buy a lens, I'll be bringing my camera to the flea market, because if I see a lens I want to put it on my camera and test it out. And if the buyer won't let you do that, then walk away. If he won't let you put the lens on your camera and try it out, it means the lens is probably broken. A good seller will allow you to swap this lens out. And all you do is just hand him your lens and hold on to it. Don't walk away. Don't be stupid. But take some shots. Take some shots around the whole range of the camera's f-stop and shutter speeds. Now, the problem you're going to have at something like a flea market is you can't take the camera card out and then go home and check it out because the flea market's over the next day. So you have to be doubly careful at a flea market. For example, the Vancouver flea market this Sunday, I will lower the price that I think I'm going to want for a particular lens because I know I'm really taking a chance of this thing not working out. This not being, at least if it's a pawn shop, I can go back the next day and say, hey, dude, this was broken. They'll probably tell me to go pound sand, but at least I can go back. The other thing is, if it's a pawn shop, I can take the card out, go home, check it out, come back the next day, and if the lens is still there, I'll buy it. Know the price of the thing you want to buy beforehand. Go to a flea market or a pawn shop with something in mind. Don't just do it randomly, because when you do it randomly, you're more likely to get suckered into buying something you don't really need. So know in your head what it is that you want to get. I know I'm looking for these two lenses. I won't look at anything else. I don't need anything else. Maybe if there's a good price in a wide-angle lens, maybe. But for the most part, that's what I'm looking at. I'm not looking for another body. I'm not looking for lights. I'm not looking for flashes, anything like that. So I can focus on just the one thing that I'm looking at. Be prepared. Have a price in mind that you're willing to pay. Haggle. That's part of the fun of this kind of stuff. Offer them 25% less than you're willing to pay. Let them walk around. But don't be trapped into any patter they may have. Oh, this is a one-of-a-kind lens. You'll never see another price like this ever. Well, if you don't, you don't. MacMan says, if you're going to specifically shop for lenses, bring a laptop or an iPad with a card reader if at all possible. If that's possible, yeah, definitely do that. You know, if you're meeting somebody from an eBay auction or a Craigslist ad, if you have a laptop, definitely do that. Take some shots with the camera or the lens, pop the card into your reader in your laptop, and check it out right then and there. The person you're buying it from shouldn't mind you doing that. If they do mind, walk away. If they show any reticence about allowing you to test the lens or the camera, walk away. Because it means they think it doesn't work, or they know that it doesn't work. Have any of you ever bought stuff? Used lenses, used camera gear? One of the great things about camera bodies is they last a really long time. My Nikon D50 that I got 10 years ago still shoots decent pictures in the right lighting conditions. Now, the technology is 10 years old, but the camera still works. The camera body still works. The lenses I bought 2 years ago still work. So if you don't mind not having the latest and greatest technology, you can buy a year-old or 2-year-old used camera and still feel pretty good about the life you'll get out of that camera. Camera bodies, I generally say, easily last 5 years. Lenses last 10. So don't be afraid to look for deals. Don't be afraid to go into the local pawn shop, the local secondhand store, your local flea market, and see if they have something that you might be able to grab. Let's see what kind of emails we got for... we talked a couple of weeks ago with Jason Painter, asked a question about wide-angle lenses. He says, thanks for the discussion on this topic. You hit the nail on the head. The DX format, that's the cropped format. FX format is full format. That's all I remember. FX is F for full. The DX format is a consumer-grade format. I looked at the FX range, and there are a number of wide-angle options, including fast primes. I hadn't thought about this. My original notion of wide angles being noted for speed is not incorrect. It would not be feasible to produce a fast wide-angle lens in the consumer range. As I can't get a faster wide-angle lens than the one I've got, I'll look at it again after my inevitable future upgrade to a full-frame camera. Good, Jason. Good to hear. I don't know if I answered this question Here we go. I'm a beginner Nikon DSLR user with an 1855 millimeter lens. Which lens should I buy additionally? None. Don't buy any of the lenses. There's no need for you to buy any of the lenses. If you're a beginner using a beginner, excuse me, sorry. If you're a beginner using a beginner camera, and that's what that is, that 1855 is what's called the kit lens, and it comes common on Nikons and Canons and Pentaxes and everything else that has a beginner lens or a beginner camera. It means you're a beginner. Don't buy any other lenses until you know how to take pictures, until you know what kind of photography you like, until you know what kind of photographer you are. The reason why I say that is you'll often see Best Buy or Amazon, for that matter, have these deals on a lens that's a zoom lens, telephoto lens. It'll be 18 to 200 millimeters. And people go, "I'll buy that." But then they find that they don't use that kind of lens. That could be considered a wildlife lens. Maybe you never shoot wildlife. I taught my classes this past weekend, and this one lady was really interested in architectural photography. She was a designer. She loved shooting architectural stuff. And so she knows that about her photography. And so she said, "What lens should I get? The 1855, I want something else." Well, obviously, she should get a wide-angle lens. If she's shooting big things, buildings, she needs a wide-angle lens. But if she had bought that 200-millimeter lens, that would have been useless for her. People always say, how do I know what kind of photographer I am? Here's a neat little trick. Your iPhone will tell you what kind of photographer you are. And by that, what I mean is go to your camera roll and look at the kind of photos you've taken with your iPhone. For most people, that tells them what kind of photographer they are. If there's a lot of photos on your iPhone of people, maybe you're a portrait photographer. If there's a lot of photos of wildlife, maybe you're a wildlife photographer. Of buildings, a landscape photographer. Figure out what kind of photographer you are before you start dumping money into a new lens simply because it's on sale, simply because there's a deal on the lens. Where'd that email go? Hang on. I had an email here from... Where'd it go? Scott Randall of the Long Island Macintosh User Group, my favorite mug. He said, "I sent you a very long email 3 or 4 weeks ago. I guess it was too long to read on the air. Scott, I didn't get it. I don't remember getting it. Resend it." I think the criticism of sales drop on Apple products is for reasons other than fewer people want them. Number one, the iPad. Unlike the iPhone, there's no subsidy by carriers. So there's no real urgency to upgrade. Also, Apple made these devices very well. My wife has the first iPad mini, and everything worked well enough for her on that. We'll see what happens when iOS 10 comes out, which can't be installed in the original Mini. I have an iPad Air 2, which works great on everything. I got it when the newer models came out, and it was on sale. I gave my old Mini to my son's fiancée, so upgrade cycles are pretty long. I completely agree with you on that one, Scott. I think that for the most part, the way most people use, especially iPads, is as a consumption device. I know you can create content. I create content all the time, but most people are using them as consumption devices. And you don't need to upgrade to consume. If the iPad you have now is a year, 2, 3 years old, and it still works just fine, there's been nothing that's come along, for the most part, to encourage you to upgrade. It still works fine. It still has the same speed for the most part. It still does the things you want to do. You can play games on it and surf the web and write emails and watch YouTube videos. Why would I upgrade? I'd love to find a reason to upgrade my 2-year-old iPad to the iPad Pro. I can't, though. I can't justify it. I can't find a reason for it. So, yeah, I don't disagree with you on that. Number 2, iPhones. Fewer companies are subsidizing the iPhone or any smartphone for that matter. So people feel that their old one works well enough. We all have the iPhone 6. If my provider does not buy back my phone like they did last time or does not subsidize the sale, my wife and I feel we can stay with this one quite a bit longer. My sons use theirs a lot more, so they may be ready for a new one. Many people will feel the same way, that their present phone does the job well enough and don't want to pay full price for a new one. I know the provider can let you pay it off by adding to your monthly bill, but you're still paying more. Yeah, again, if your iPhone works just fine and you don't see anything compelling in the new version of it, you're not going to upgrade just for the sake of upgrading. For the most part, most people, the average person. And finally, Macs. Apple actually makes the Macs so well that they last a long time. So many people can go 6 or 7 years or even more between new Macs. There are also some great deals on refurbished Macs and even some with warranties available. This has been a funny, weird kind of knock on Apple for years. Their products are too good. They last too long. The laptop I've got is a 2013 laptop, so it's 3 years old. It's fine. For what I need to do, that's my travel laptop. I need it to show Keynote slides. I need it to run Lightroom. And I need it to, when I travel, to check email and surf the web. That's it. The 3-year-old laptop does that just fine. My iMac is 2 years old. It's got plenty of RAM. I've got external hard drives, so I don't need more hard drive space. It does the things I need it to do. I don't need to upgrade. Apple could announce a new iMac tomorrow, and I wouldn't lust after it. Assuming it's just the same one, upgraded screen, upgraded RAM, upgraded hard drive, faster processor, whatever. Because the things most of us do nowadays don't require the latest and greatest computers or iPhones or iPads. And if the device you already own doesn't break, you don't need to replace it. Arxine says, people should buy Macs less often and buy 100 shares of Apple stock every year. They don't upgrade their Macintosh. That's not a bad idea. That is not a bad idea. Oh, someone just reminded me on a private message. I mentioned on Twitter and Facebook the workshops that I've been working on. The fingers crossed, the nice folks at the travel agency have said they're working on itineraries for spring 2017 for Spain and or Portugal. And I asked them why those locations. They said, first of all, the weather's going to be great for photography. And it's funny, I said to them, don't worry about the weather, because the classes that I teach will talk about how to shoot in all kinds of weather conditions. It's probably going to be warm, so even if it's rainy and warm, we can get good pictures. As I teach in the class, a bright, sunny, blue sky day, actually the photos aren't very good. You kind of want a little overcast or cloudy, big puffy clouds. So don't worry about the weather. The what was I going to say? The other thing is, they said Spain and Portugal are relatively inexpensive that time of year. So I was like, okay. I had to remind them, I don't speak Spanish. I don't speak Portuguese. So they're working on itineraries. And in general, it's going to be a 10-day trip with 10 people, between 10 and 15, maximum 15. So if you're interested, start saving your pennies. If you want to go to Spain or you want to go to Portugal, spring 2007, start saving your pennies, because it's going to be a very limited number of people going on these trips. I don't want to do a trip where it's a busload of folks, 45 people going in a bus to this museum and that museum. That's not what I'm going to be doing. We want small groups where we can all walk around together doing photo walks and doing classroom sessions and workshops. And there will be lots of free time built in for you to go off and do what you want to do. So, for example, one of the things I told the travel group is, so one morning we would meet for breakfast, and we would say, today Shawn's going to go off to this castle or church. Here's how to shoot the church. Here's how to set your camera up. Here's what to look for. We'll do a little hour-long session on how to get the best pictures, and then we're going to go off to that church, and we'll walk around for a couple hours. And then in the afternoon, Shawn's going to go over to that museum. If you want to come with him, come on. If you don't, go ahead and do your own thing. I'll see you back at the hotel tonight. There's going to be all kinds of built-in time for you to go off and do your own thing. There's going to be at least one sunrise shoot that's voluntary, and at least one sunset shoot, which is also going to be voluntary. And there'll be at least one day where you're completely on your own, just bugger off and go to the beach or go do whatever it is you want to do. Dave D says, today Shawn King says we're taking pictures of wild boar pasta. That's Italy. I don't know if the Spaniards or the Portuguese like wild boar. Love the wild boar. Love the wild boar. So, yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed, again, they're working on itineraries, and hopefully they can get a good price for folks where we can go to Spain and or Portugal. And if there's some other place you'd like to go, let me know. Send me an email to onair@yourmaclifeshow.com because if we get 10 people that say they want to go to Vienna, we'll do it in Vienna. Budapest, Estonia. There's all kinds of beautiful places to go. So if you've got a place that you want to go and take pictures of, and hang out with a professional photographer and 8-10 other people and take some beautiful pictures, because the goal of this is to go on vacation, still have your vacation, but when you come back, have beautiful pictures to show to family and friends and to hang on your wall, and to then take that knowledge that you got in Budapest to take pictures around your neighborhood, around your home. Turkey, Shawn, Turkey. Turkey's good. Istanbul, I'd love to shoot Istanbul. Dave D, I've always wanted to do it in Vienna. Vienna, Budapest, and Prague. Those are the three cities that don't often show up on tourist radar. Yeah, it's London, Paris, Rome. But those are three that are beautiful cities for photography. I've seen lots of pictures of all three that are just like, oh my God, I want to go. And the thing is, all three of them, Vienna, Budapest, and Prague, are also beautiful winter cities too. You don't often say that. But those three cities, I've seen some beautiful winter photography. I'd love to go and take pictures there. With recent events, I'd probably avoid Turkey. Yeah, I'm not going to Turkey for a while yet. But yeah, send me pictures. Send me emails. On air, Your Mac Life Show, if you're even interested in it. Even if we don't know the price, we don't know anything about it. But even if you're just curious, send me an email so we can keep track of the folks who are interested. And so I can pass it on to the tourism guys. Say, hey, we've got 5 people who want to go to Vienna. There's 6 people who want to go to Prague. So let me know. I guarantee no matter where we go, it's going to be fun. I promise. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun photography. It's going to be fun food. It's going to be fun hanging out. It's just going to be fun going to pubs. It's guaranteed to be fun. Folks, that's it for tonight's show. I want to say thanks very much, as always, to our good friend Jim Downpool of The Loop at loopinsight.com for joining me here, and for you guys, whether you're being tuned in to the archive or whether you're listening into the show live. I love having you guys be with me on Wednesdays or Thursdays or Fridays, whenever you tune into the show. Until next week, as always, I've been Shawn King, and you're listening to Your Mac Life. See ya! Push the wrong button. Hang on. Stop. God damn it. I was doing so good, wasn't I? I was doing good, and then I pushed the wrong button. Let me try it again. I've been Shawn King, and you're listening to Your Mac Life. See ya!